Amaro, you are beginning to realize that to continue expanding the empire we need a revered warlord.
Inca Pachacutec, you are rearing your son to lead a government of despotism and subjugation.
Man of the future, in your times, the advanced countries that supposedly govern with justice have also adopted ways of injustice to defend their principles. You could be right about the means to their end, but not the principles for which they stand. Although we must always be wary of the power bestowed on one nation or one person. For our faults are greater than our virtues. Countersole, 1,000 years later the people of the future are not better than we were. I don't see why we shouldn't continue with our destiny.
Tupac doesn't have to understand the intricacies of human nature. He is the son of the sun. Inca, trying to comprehend our humanity will be an untenable quest, and why in our times we are getting closer to cloning ourselves into beings able to think in terms of digits. For as long as we are humans, we will always be imperfect. That is why we had to govern like demigods, so that the people would follow one way of thinking. Father Inca, it is time that you let my younger brother govern with you. Amaro, I know.
I am old, and I don't want to go on any more campaigns.
I will crown Tupac Yupanc as a warrior prince.
Although Pachacutec was past his prime, he would not relinquish his crown, but share it with his son.
Tupac, you need to learn to be vigilant over the lands that we have unified. Do not ever allow anyone look at you directly. For the day that you let them do that, you will have lost an edge on them, and you will live to regret it. Always rule with a hand of stone, and crush your enemies.
If you don't, they would have savored the taste of defeat, a powerful allurement to regain their freedom.
Pachacutec had conquered the northern nations in the Andes.
Now he had his eyes on the coast, as more news came from the great kingdom of Chimer.
He would send Tupac in his first campaign as a warrior prince.
Topak Capac, as an experienced warrior and an older half-brother of Tupac, I will entrust his safety to you in the fields of battle. I want all the victories to be in his name, and not yours. Apo Yupanc and Tilka Yupanc, as his legitimate brothers, you will also be going with him. Amaro Yupanc stayed to safeguard the throne in case Pachacutec died. Countersole, my age has not diminished the fire I have to keep on fighting, and my son will make that possible.
Only
with my death will that desire cease, and become like anyone else.
Inca, death is the only democracy of our humanity.
Our fate would be bleak if it not were for the continuation of ourselves and our children to whom we pass the seeds of good and evil, like you are trying to do with your son.
That is not my intent. It may not be, but it seems that in order to construct we must destroy.
Perhaps we are programmed by a God who has given us the freedom to choose between these two forces. Otherwise, our world would not materialize without the antithesis of these concepts. Who knows, a civilization that
follows only the good would cause its own destruction.
It is the entwining of these two opposing forces what give us our eternity.
An incomprehensible thought, nevertheless true.
Countersole, go with my son and you will understand that subduing others is the only way to progress, as is also happening in your days where the few impose their ideals on the majority.
The prince marched on the central Sierras to Cajamarca, where he made his center of operations.
Then, he interned into the jungles.
Countersole, we are in the land of the Chachapoyas. My father instructed me to destroy the Chancas, but I am overtaken by the freedom they enjoy, and their women have the white skin that we all desire. Not only the Incas desired them, our conquerors raped them after long deprivations of their Spanish maidens who didn't want them without gold. Tupac ventured into the dense jungles looking for the Chancas. Unable to find them, he went to Tumibamba in Ecuador, and he confronted the Canaris. His
father had allotted him a few years for this first campaign, and he returned to Cusco.
Great Pachacutec, your son is back, Countersole. This is one of my last hurrahs.
I will cheat death with his triumphs.
I will go to receive him.
Son, as my body decays to the whims of time, I will die knowing that we will continue on the path of greatness.
Let us enter the city as victors.
After days of celebrations, Pachacutec sent overseers to exert tributes, and to bring an account of all that Tupac had done. Months later, they came with the news that, indeed, Tupac had almost unified the whole of the north, but the Canaris and the Quitos were already uprising. Tupac, you have to learn to subdue your enemies until their hopes to be free are eradicated. The enemy will never become your allies, their descendants will always want revenge. Great PACHACUTEC, we must extend the olive branches of peace to the vanquished. Tupac should reign with the hand of the magnanimous and not with that of the tyrant. Countersoul, I see where those foreign branches of distant lands have taken us. Our people are now the most wretched human beings on earth for believing in those words without any meaning. Old Inca, must you be unmovable like those ancient boulders of Sacsayhuaman, and the graying of your hair is not a sign of wisdom, but of our vile passions? Countersoul, maybe I am like you who fosters the sickness of the soul. Father Inca, do not misunderstand what the man of the future is trying to tell us. He wishes that our descendants learn that at one time we fell, and that they must resurge. Tupac. We are in the past, we should continue with our destiny. You have to go back and try to unite the Northerners. I will give you 4 years for that task. I want you to return within that time, because I fear that I might not live that long. Topak Kapak, Tilka Yupank, and Apo Yupank, go again with Tupac. I want to see the fruits of my son's victories before I join Inti. For the second time, Tupac and his army went to subdue the Quitos and the Canaris.